Mr. and Mrs Bun, how can I assist you?
Hey, Vanessa, ¿cómo estás?
Hola, corazón, ¿cómo estás?
I'm great, thank you. Listen, I have a little bit of a dilemma. I've never done a repeat episode for The Hunt, but you and Giancarlo are awesome and I need a proper sandwich in my life. What do you think?
Of course. You're more than welcome over here. We got the good stuff.
Did you say good stuff?
Yes. Come on, join us.
I'm on the way. What's going on, everybody? Bryan O, Hunt for the Good Stuff, back with another episode here in Kendall, Florida. Now, Kendall, Florida, you could basically consider it Miami, the outskirts of it at least. The food over here is exceptional. Like right now, I'm in Fort Lauderdale. I literally took like an hour-long drive just to get here. Totally worth it. I'm about to show you why. We're gonna get intimate today. So I'm gonna go in the back, check out the kitchen, see how some of this stuff is prepared. It's gonna be a real exciting episode, so I hope you guys are ready. Are you ready? So why I love this place is because the sandwiches are phenomenal. Now, you come here for the sandwiches, but you gotta sample some of the other stuff. The drinks are great. The food is great. Over here to start off with, I went with some Pesto Rolls. Pesto Rolls, you ask, what's that? Let me tell you. Basically, it's beef Milanese. If you know Milanese, it's a protein, pounded thin, breaded, fried, crispy, delicious. Totally different on this one. They made like a roulade out of it. Where on the inside, they're using spaghetti. The spaghetti, they beef it up with a little additional flavor, pesto. They layer a little additional pesto at the base, Parmesan on top, mixed herbs, and then this treasure of Peru. Huancaína sauce. Queso fresco, ají amarillo, crackers to give it that nice thickness. It almost looks like nacho cheese, but it's so much more than that. It's gonna go great with any kind of protein, especially if it's crispy, especially if it's stuffed with pesto spaghetti. All right, so this thing looks kind of cute right there as it is. Let's chop into it. Let's see what's going on here. Ooh, look at that. Straight spaghetti, baby. Spaghetti with that pesto, that beautiful herbaceous tone. I actually stripped a little bit of the breading from the outside here, but you have this beautiful beef here, pounded thin, ready to go. That bite is so satisfying. It's gonna take you a little bit to chew through it. Not to say that it's tough. It's really tender in its own right, but it's textures that you're not really expecting, because the outside, it's the steak component. You know what that's like. Pasta, you know what that's like. Those two worlds together, totally different. That herbaceous tone from the pesto sets everything off. Usually with like a Milanese, people have it with like a tomato sauce or something like that. I think the pesto is an interesting route. The sharpness of that Parmesan works beautifully, and this Huancaína sauce that goes with it rounds it out, gives it an additional creaminess. It's like creamy, crispy, herbaceous, rich, delicious. I don't even know any more adjectives, but you get the deal. Mr. and Mrs Bun, one of the things that makes them a little bit different is that they make all their bread in-house. That makes a world of difference, especially if you appreciate sandwiches like I do. Soft shell crabs. If you love soft shell crabs, you know there's only a small window throughout the year where you could really enjoy them, and generally you're looking from May to September, so we're really kind of pushing the limits of it, but I know the quality over here is exceptional. And what's cool about soft shells, once they shed their shell, you could put them in the freezer almost immediately, and then you could have them for a couple months thereafter. So I guess if you have a large enough stockpile, you could make it happen. This thing looks ridiculous though. It looks like a creature coming out of a cave or a shell or something. You know, you kind of feel bad for the little guy, but I mean, bottom of the food chain, buddy, what you gonna do? You throw a little bacon on top of this thing, you're gonna do some lettuce, tomato, and if you see how they do it in the back, it's a work of art. So you start off with the soft shell crab. They basically put a little bit of marinade on it, then they bread it, then they throw it in the fryer. It happens pretty quickly. If you see the process, the thing starts off like super tiny, and then after you bread it, it puffs up. Once in the fryer, it almost increases the size twofold. That's what helps it fill out the spaces really nicely. The salad, they toss it with an aioli. So it's got a garlic component, mayonnaise, a couple herbs, spices, all that good stuff. So that is beautiful because it's not just a little bit on the edges of the bread, it's solidified all throughout. Now they slather the inside with a little bit of mayonnaise just to kind of finish it off and bring the whole idea home. Some citrus on the side, because seafood with citrus, you know how well that goes. I mean, I almost feel bad eating this thing, but you threw bacon on it, so what am I gonna do? I'm gonna eat it. Well, let's get into this thing. What are we waiting for? This thing is wonderful. It's wonderful. You know what's great about it? It's just every little detail was thought about very well. So the fact that you make the bread in-house, awesome. The fact that you take whatever dressing that you're using and then you mix it beforehand with all the different greens and vegetables, that goes a long way. Instead of just slathering on the edge of the bread, they took the extra step. Now the soft shells, they did just that. They probably got them at the peak of the season and then they saved them for a little bit. So you put them in the freezer, not hard. If you ever have a bad soft shell, you start to bite into it and it's actually like it has the shell all over again. Not the case at all over here. This thing is loaded with flavor. Now to finish it off, a little bit of the little lime over here, citrus, and bring it home, baby. I'm in love. It's sandwich day around these parts. You're in the mood for a sandwich. You can't have just one. Make it two. Make it three. You want to be rolling out of the spot is what I'm telling you. La Caja China is this fantastic contraption that you use to cook some of the most delicious pig you've ever had in your entire life. Now, it originated over in Cuba, actually Chinatown within Cuba. It's basically a wooden box. It's like a metal grating. You flatten it, then there's another piece that goes on top. You hook it closed, and now you could kind of flip the pig around. So basically, you set this thing up in a box, then the top layer is this layer of coals. So it almost creates kind of like an oven effect. So you wait like a couple hours, you take the thing out, and then it's super crispy on one side. All the pan drippings are on the bottom. You flip it around, you put the top back on, and then you basically get the other side crispy. The pork comes out better than maybe any other version that I've ever seen. They actually do that on a daily basis over here. Now, in the back, they're literally going through this process to make sure that you have the freshest product possible. Fresh made bread, they're doing La Caja China, that's all I really have to know. Basically, they're doing sweet potatoes on top for a nice little crunch factor. Also, they're doing mayonesa cevichado, or mayonesa cevichada. So basically, they played the whole idea of having like a ceviche sauce within mayonnaise. So there is basically a mayo component, there's a pepper component, there's an onion component, there's a lemon juice component. So it's gonna give you a little bit of that citrus twang, almost like a mojo, but not really. But it's basically going to do the same thing for a pork dish. I'm super excited. What do you say we jump in? Oh, look at that. Look at this little sexy thing. It's like little caves that you just want to live in. It's like a blanket. You want to blanket yourself with this sandwich. At least I do. So I'm going to throw a little bit of the sauce on top. I'm a saucy guy. This little corner right there. Watch me do my thing. So many different layers of pork too. So you get the portions that are a little bit chewy, you get the portions that are ultra tender, you get the portions that are ultra crispy. It's like potluck every time you go in. You don't really know what you're going to get with each respective bite, and I love that. The bread, I don't even have to say anything. A little bit of lettuce for roughage, for color, for a nice coefficient of friction to hold the protein on top.
So let me explain you what we have for dessert tonight. So this is a 3 milk with marshmallows, cookies and cream cheesecake, brownie with Nutella, strawberry cheesecake with Nutella.
Alright, so after Vanessa presented all those fantastic desserts, we had to choose something. So, being the American that I am, I like some s'mores. I went with that. It's got a beautiful, like, nice little layering going on here. So you got the graham cracker on the bottom, a little bit of the marshmallow, some of that melted chocolate. So when you look in here, it already looks like it's going to be ooey gooey. So you got to get down to the bottom. That's the name of the game. You got to heat it up a little bit like a campfire. And voila! Oof. Just that cascading effect. It's like everything that you wanted as a kid that your mom wouldn't let you have. This is the way you should have s'mores. The campfire, it's awesome. It's romanticized about in like movies and like just like your memories and such, but it's not very practical. This one, everything stays clean. You want the chocolate melted. That's a huge part of it, and that's usually what doesn't get achieved when you do it the old school way. What do they have that embodies the spirit of Peru? Well, for dessert, it's lucuma anything. But lucuma is very interesting. It almost looks like an avocado when all said and done. The size is pretty much the same. It's got that big seed in the center, but the flesh, instead of being green, it's almost kind of like a golden color. They usually use it as a dessert. It's pretty bitter inherently. Now, what they're doing here is they're doing tres leches. So they're doing cuatro leches in this case, where the fourth milk is saturated with that lucuma. Now, evaporated milk, condensed milk, heavy cream, and the lucuma with a little bit of whipped cream on top, a little bit of those chocolate shavings looking pretty like. So let's dig on in. And this one you probably don't have to go all the way to the bottom, but I don't know, that's what I do. It makes sense why they do it with dessert. Any kind of bitter characteristic, totally flushed away. I mean, that little shaving of chocolate probably adds more bitterness than all of that lucuma. When you look at it, you just assume everything's a pudding. That's not the case. They're strategic about things. They're basically making like tres leches, a traditional cake, but inside these cute little jars. And you have the little layering, the transparency on the side, and the practicality of the jar. So Mr. and Mrs. Bun, the dynamic duo. You gotta get over here. They're awesome people. Vanessa and Giancarlo, they're so welcoming. They're super creative. And I'm so happy that they opened up this space. It's one of those gems too. You don't even really know about it. Again, in a strip mall, and it seems to be a common theme over here in South Florida, but you just gotta look for the good stuff. That's another episode in the books. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you made it up to this point, double high five. If not, that's cool too. Next week is gonna be something awesome. So until then, you keep watching, because I'm gonna keep hunting, and I'm gonna see you soon, okay?